Nung kabataan ko, Muscovado sugar is poor man's sugar. Ngayon, bumaligtad yung mundo.
If I looked into your pantry right now, would I find Muscovado sugar? For many people today, it's something you might only see in specialty grocery shelves. In Belison Antique, it's just sugar. It's what people have always made. Sugarcane farming in Western Visayas has been around since the 18th century. By the mid-1800s, the industry was accelerating. Europe needed sugar. The Philippine tropics could supply it. A British vice consul named Nicholas Loney saw the opportunity and brought modern milling equipment into Iloilo, pushing farmers towards export production. Negros went big, large plantations, industrial scale, global markets. Antique went the other way, smaller farms, community-based processing, a slower rhythm tied to the slower local life. Today, Antique accounts for 79% of Muscovado production in the Western Visayas. Most of it still made by hand, the same way it's always been made. Hamungaya Farms in Belison has been part of that story since 2003. Founded by Felipe Pachoco, it was built around a specific problem. Small farmers and processors were making good Muscovado, but they couldn't find a stable, fair market for it.
Nang time na nag-aaral pa ako, mga 1970s, itong buong lugar na ito, itong expanse ng lupa na ito, tubig ito. Kasi ang Sibalom River, kung saan dumaan kayo sa mahabang tulay, nag-change course na erode. No? Nung napunta ako rito, sabi ko, ano kayang gagawin ko dito para maging worth ng time ko yung pabalik-balik ko dito. Kaya itinatag namin yung Hamungaya Muscovado Mill.
Muscovado is unrefined sugar, pressed from pure sugarcane juice, dried without stripping out the molasses, which makes about 15% of every batch. The molasses is where everything comes from, the dark color, the dense moist texture, the complex bittersweet flavor that refined wine sugar just can't replicate. In this processing center, production is organized through small groups. Each group handles their own cane, harvesting mature stalks from their farms, cutting them down, bringing the harvest to the mill. From there, they work through the stages together, pressing the juice, cooking it down, and drying the sugar. Once a batch is done, it's divided through a system called trece parte, the rule of thirds. The harvest is split amongst everyone who contributed to making it.
Nandito po tayo ngayon sa mga sugar mill. Bibigyan ko kayo ng quick tour para sa makita po natin yung buong facility. Dito po tayo pupunta sa ating extraction na area kung saan pinipiga, ni-extract yung sugarcane juice. Ito po ay century-old na juice extraction machine galing pa sa Glasgow. 1878 pa po ito na manufacture yung ating extraction machine. So, mula dito, i-extract yung juice, lalabas sa kabila yung bagaso, yung shapo. Yan po yung ginagamit namin as main fuel. Then after that, papasok po siya sa series of filters and pipes papunta po sa inside ng mill kung saan i-evaporate siya at ililinisan pa ng konti bago mag-proceed sa cooking and evaporation. Balik po sa extraction. After ma-extract yung juice, papasok dito, tsaka dediretso po dito sa ating cooking vats. Ang sugarcane juice, magiging mas clarified siya, yung mixture. Tsaka dito po yung cooling table natin. So, as you can see, very light yung output natin ngayon. So, dito sa amin, sa Antique, the lighter the color, the better or more premium yung quality.
Producing the sugar is only part of the problem. For Muscovado farmers, the bigger challenge is everything around production: market access, pricing stability, policies that actually support small producers. Making good Muscovado isn't really the hard part. Finding a sustainable place for it in the market is.
Ang Muscovado ngayon sa Antique is nahihirapan talaga. Yung pinaka-problem niya talaga is market. So, if ma-solve yung market, the raw material, the product is easy to make. If totally willing talaga na tumulong yung gobyerno, malaking bagay na tulungan talaga is yung market ng Muscovado. Kasi right now, Antique contributes, Western Visayas as a whole contributes to around 70%, no? Ka-total Muscovado production in the whole Philippines.
Ang lahat naman ng business, ang pangarap nila is yung magandang market. So dahil sa amin, especially yung policy ni John, no? Kaya nga mataas ang aming presyo dito. Mataas ang binabalik namin doon sa mga workers, Dahil nga kung nabubuhay kami, dapat mabubuhay sila. So ibig sabihin, bibigyan namin sila ng magandang motivation na mag-continue ang support nila sa amin dahil nga nagbe-benefit din sila.
So it is very important, no, na talagang suportahan natin yung lokal ng mga farmers natin. Kasi sila yung buong buhay, napapakain ng bansa. Kung wala sila, magugutom tayo lahat. So support local farmers and support Muscovado Sugar in Antique.
Mahal kami compared doon sa industrial sugar, no? Pero ang aming sugar na binibenta namin na mas mahal ka sa white sugar, okay pa rin yun sa AB market. Kasi nga may mga complementary benefits sila na hindi na nakukuha sa white sugar, no?
The FDA classifies Muscovado as non-centrifugal sugar, made from sugarcane juice, composed mainly of sucrose and natural molasses. Because the molasses stays in, it carries trace amounts of calcium, potassium, magnesium, and iron. The amounts are quite modest. Muscovado is still sugar, but unlike refined white sugar, it hasn't really been stripped down to nothingness. One of the workers here is Nanay Ofelia. Several days a week, she takes Muscovado and turns it into Butong-Butong, a traditional sweet made by cooking the sugar down and pulling it into long strands. She sells them in nearby towns. It's one of the quieter ways Muscovado moves through daily life here, not exported nor overly marketed, just made and sold, the way it's always been enjoyed.
Anim na taon ako nagluto ng butong-butong, tapos may nasuplayan bala nga 3 kataho kada Biyernes, Sabado at Martes. Na ginasuplayan tanda lang gabligya. Tapos nag-aaral ang bunso ko ng second year, tapos ang magulang na nakatapos man kang marketing management. Butong-butong lang yan. Ang pagtimpla kang butong-butong is gata sa gata din yan mo ng daw milk tea, kaya ang gata ba is milk ay tanaram daw nanam, pag magkulang gata mo ti daw iba man ang sabor. Lugay yun para matunaw tana. Ang una ko ang mag-juice tana matunaw mo ang klamay raan mo, tapos daw mabatyagan mo ra dyan tana daw dapat ang tanam lang magdapat, dapat ang tanang bukal na bla daw kalamay daw bait-bait yung tangan mo kaniyog, sa mga ingredients bla. Dan astaran kita na magnaba. Pag naba na puntuhan mo tana kung insakturon tana nga bahitin, pag bahit mo amura. Butungan mo ron kung magkaya mo nga kapagang watana. Butungan mo kita tanang nga magputi. Tapos lubidin tang sa plastic.
In the neighboring town of Sibalom, Chikisi Restaurant has been feeding the community for about a decade. It started as a small eatery and then grew into a place where people come for familiar food that they love. One of the dishes on the menu is estofadong manok, a chicken stew with a rich, slightly sweet sauce. The sweetness, obviously, comes from Muscovado. For the cooks here, it's really all about flavor. The natural molasses in Muscovado gives dishes a balance that refined white sugar just can't.
Sa Bisaya, yun, estopado, basta yung may asukal na pula, Muscovado. Yun ang ano dito yan sa Antique. Muscovado, estopado, ganon. Kahit sa baboy, umba. Ano rin yun, asukal din na pula, nilalagay namin.
Makita mo talaga ang difference niya. Kung gagamit ka ng ibang sugar sa Muscovado na lulutuin mo, ibang lasa niya kaysa sa Muscovado. Tapos takpan at pakuluin. Okay, lagay natin yung tanglad muna para lumasa na siya dyan pagka sa luto. Tapos takpan natin, pakuluin natin ng mga 10 minutes lang bago natin ilagay yung sugar. Ilagay natin yung sugar. Okay, lagay ko na. Isa pa. Okay. Halo muna natin. Sugar. I-compare sa Muscovado. Ang Muscovado parang may malinamnam siya at saka parang iba ang tamis. Hindi masyado siyang matamis. Tamang-tama lang siya sa luto talaga na panglagay.
At saka hindi masyado ingredients yung Muscovado. Kasi walang chemicals gaano nilalagay. Oo.
Healthy talaga. Healthy siya.
Although struggling, Muscovado industry, kasi mababa yung presyo dahil sa sugar importation, dahil sa climate change, sa hirap ng production, we try to sustain it and we see it na possibly masustain namin for the next few years pa and longer. So yung goal namin, right now, na-reach na namin yung parang full capacity ng isang meal. If maka-open kami ng other markets, like higher markets, maybe in export or in just local market. Siguro eventually, mag-expand kami, makapagtayo kami ng dagdag na meals para makatulong pa sa mas maraming communities.
Philippine Muscovado production peaked in 2015 at around 213,000 metric tons. By 2023, it had slipped, not collapsed, but slipped. Studies going back to '93 show that Filipino consumers just prefer the white stuff over all other varieties. Cheaper, whiter, more familiar. Muscovado had already survived one long decline when large industrial mills pushed smaller farmers out in the late 20th century. What exists today is what survived. What disappears from a food system is rarely just the ingredient, it's the knowledge around it, the processing methods, the community structures, the dishes, and the people there to sustain it. In Antique, Muscovado moves through daily life, in the carinderia and your morning coffee. It's there because people use it, because it tastes right to them, and it tastes damn good. Because 3 centuries of making something a certain way has a logic that white sugar just can't replicate. That's not nostalgia necessarily, that's a food system that will survive. And it's a perfect example of loving our own.